Good evening. Welcome to Crosstalk. And today we want to talk about some very, very interesting things. Incidentally, Crosstalk is the show where we bring the cross to every conversation. And today the conversation, very interesting. Pastors also cry. Or do they? We will find out just now, and I have an amazing panel, able people. Reverend Peter Nzimbi from the Anglican Church of Kenya, Parish of St. Francis in Karen. Karibu, Peter.
Asante.
And I have Nina Njoroge. Nina Njoroge is a worship pastor and currently at One Tribe Church. And Karibu, Nia.
Asante sana.
Okay, so, see, we are superhuman.
No.
Do we cry? Do pastors heart? Do pastors heart?
Look at us laughing.
Yeah. Yes.
How?
I think we are part of the human race, and we are humans, as we've basically agreed. Being human, we go through what every other human goes through, whether it is a good, whether it's a bad, and the ugly. We all go through the same bits that everyone else goes through, despite the calling that we would have, despite the profession, some might say.
But surely the pastoral bubble is so well put together. You know, it's such a safe place. How do you cause a man of God or woman of God to cry? Can you demystify this for us? What goes on?
I think when I thought about this topic in my mind, I was thinking to say, I think sometimes we forget that being a pastor, it's like saying the doctor is crying. It's like saying the teacher is crying. Yeah. It's our vocation. We are not first pastors. We are first humans. And we have emotions. And as much as we are supposed to operate in the spirit, as believers, first of all, not even because of the title, we have the soul. The soul has the mind, the will, and the emotions, and we feel.
Tell me circumstance, Peter. Under what circumstances does a pastor cry?
I think I would say with every other circumstance that every other person would go through. One, rejection. Yeah. When we feel that people don't accept us and don't accept who we are.
So you go to the parish?
Yes, you go to a parish, you come to a church, and you are serving there with all your might, you're giving your all, probably bringing out all your giftings.
Who rejects you?
And
you're preaching anointed messages.
Just a member of the congregation comes and tells you, we really didn't like the way you presented yourself. Didn't really, but sometimes even they don't like the way we look, or even the way we
you are shouting.
The way we were presenting ourselves, the way we articulate ourselves, or even probably don't even like our thought processes and what we probably were presenting in terms of either music or a sermon, and it actually can cut deep within, and especially where people are blind to your giftings, blind to your character, blind to your personality and who you are.
What you bring on board.
Yes, what you're bringing on board.
And I think for me, just to add on that, on top of just the part of now on being probably as a laborer, doing your tasks, we also have personal lives. And there's one time I was telling somebody, you know, sometimes I went to preach somewhere and I was telling the congregation, sometimes Pasi can just come here and start shouting. It's for you to literally take a moment and breathe, and then even just find out what is Pasi going through, because it must be something beyond.
By Pasi here, you mean the one in charge?
The one in charge.
Maybe the bishop,
yes,
or the senior pastor who you're working under.
Yes. And so these people are going through, we go through grief, loss, we are going through divorces. Can we just talk the truth here?
Yes. Yes. In fact, I'm looking for those stories now. So you are wounded, Cindy. All right. Can you tell us what happened?
No, mine actually is not even about being wounded. Mine is about losing an infant. I had a miscarriage after doing my IVF process during the pandemic season. But we were all home at the time. And to pick up on all those other wounds and everything else, what happened with me was, and I've shared this before, where I explained how my world just crumbled. So we are all home. The pandemic has happened. I've just been laid off from my workplace where I was working at Nairobi Chapel. I'm home. I have no income. Yes, I have a husband, an amazing husband, taking care of me and paying for all these bills. Then I've lost a child. Then I pick up on my grief counselor told me, Nina, what is happening in your life right now is that you've gone and picked up all the things you had never grieved. You are trying to spiritualize them. You are trying to spiritualize them, all the hurt and the pain in my 20s in ministry that I had bottled up, and all I could think of was singing them out. There's a place of singing out, and there's a place of going through the emotion. And many of us as pastors, as ministers, we don't do that.
We gloss over it.
We gloss over it. We say it is well. We say God's gonna work it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But even David has been my perfect example. I say if there's somebody who's supposed to teach us on mental health and wellness, it's David in the Bible. Because David would sit down and say, why so downcast, oh my soul? Put your hope in God. Like the guy would just literally, he was conscious that his soul was not well. He got to a place in Psalms 139 where he had just gone. He's having now a conversation with himself. He's saying, by the way, I got to a place.
We'll come to that soul conversation. Peter,
Yes.
what happens when a pastor loses his income and he is a sole breadwinner?
Where?
Wow.
No, sorry. I usually have this joke with my husband. I tell him, I think if I was the husband, and he was the wife, he'd have left me.
Because these things happen.
No,
Right?
they do happen.
What?
They do happen.
Tell us, what do you think goes through a pastor's mind? Where this pastor is the man, sole breadwinner.
You get disoriented. Completely disoriented. I think the first question is, where is God? We always would want to question the calling, question, am I in the right place? Did I miss the word? Did I miss the direction? Where is God? And where are God's people, actually, at a point in time? Where are God's people?
So you are saying you usually get abandoned.
Yes, you get abandoned.
So even the people that you used to call you brother, they don't call you.
Actually, no one cares for you after you've been laid off. It's over. The relationship is over.
Yes. Actually, there's a facade about being in front of a crowd. Whenever you stand in front of a congregation and you're the one asking people to stand, to clap, to dance, to sing, and you feel as if you are in control. The moment you lose that and that is taken away, you really are in a terrible place because we tend as human beings to grow with the congregation in terms of the control that you get, the acclaim that you get, the appreciation.
It does something to, what does it do to
does.
you when people appreciate you?
I think it's an ego thing, probably.
Yeah.
It's an ego thing.
It feels good.
It feels good.
It's like a small child. You know, when they've done something good, it's not all the time when they've done bad things that they need to be reminded how bad things they've done. You want to be told, oh, Baba or Mama, you've done so well. I'm so proud of you.
Yes.
Appreciation does something for you.
A lot.
Nina, a pastor has fallen into a scandal, whether true or not, notwithstanding. The thing is blown. Boom.
Where?
And the pastor loses his position. Not just his position, his honor, everything.
Yeah.
Tell us what goes on in there.
Where?
That's a heavy one.
It's a heavy one because I've seen that happen to people who I've worked with. And me, I've cried. I've cried because I think there's a different way we can handle some of these things. Because God does not give up on us.
What goes on in the pastor's heart and mind? This one who's been scandalized and shamed. What goes on in them?
They are broken.
Yeah.
They are broken.
Is it possible for a pastor to be broken?
Totally. Yeah. That drives them straight to the dogs. And that is the truth.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know people who have literally gone into depression, gone and drinking, and now just taking it to the next level. Because why? That thing was not handled with grace.
Yeah.
You want to tell me all these years, I have served every other thing I have done except this one. You cannot forgive me.
Yeah.
Do you have to announce me to people? Do you have to tell them? You know, if we came and told
We're
your
trying to deal with
business,
sin.
so is lying sin also?
Well, whatever it is, we're trying to bring this
Then
into
let's
the
announce
light.
everything. Let's announce lying. Let us announce stealing money.
Yeah.
Let us announce
So you're saying
everything.
there is a selective handling of this.
Thank you.
I think there is
Okay.
a spotlight that comes and sheds a lot of sin. And if I was to be selective
Yeah.
in saying that this bright light only brings out maybe the scandal that has happened with the pastor.
The alleged scandal.
Yes. Can we be able now also to shed a spotlight on every other bit of our lives? And truly, if you look at each and every one of us, if a light is shed on us, and I think it's where we look at things in the light of God, in the eyes of God. What does he see? He sees shame. I think we might also need to go on and thinking that we are also human beings, and we fail. We have the Adamic sin in us. And
Peter, I want to talk about something here
Yeah.
that I think also makes pastors cry.
Yeah.
You gun for a position. Everybody around you told you, you're the best. In fact, we want you. Then you miss it. My friend, you miss it.
Yes.
And the person who's given, look at them, and you're thinking, hey, truly favor is not fair.
Yeah.
How does a pastor deal with that kind of disappointment?
Yeah, favoritism. It's difficult. It's not an easy bit. It's not an easy bit where someone else is chosen over you, and yet possibly you would feel that you had everything to give for that particular position. It's heart-rending, let me say. It really can break a pastor and anyone. And how do you deal with it? You know, it's a difficult bit. You have to lick your wounds at times and curl your tail and accept to move on despite the difficulties that you might be going through, the emotional turmoil. And I know I have gone through that, where others have been picked. And yet you are patted on your back and told, well done, you tried your best.
You actually were number 2.
Voting.
Not a nice thing.
Voting procedure.
Nina, I want you to talk to us about separation. You have been in several ministries.
Yes.
You've gone through separation from one ministry to another. Some of it has been honorable, dignified. Others have been acrimonious. Now, and you just talk to us about that. What do you go through, when that's going on?
I'm the kind of person who gives 100%.
Yes.
Actually, 120. I'm a loyalist. And I always tell people I served God. And I served my man of God and his wife. And for me, it was not, we left well. For me, it's what was said after that shattered me to pieces. Till tomorrow, you cannot tell me about fatherhood.
What was said?
It was just a lot of things. We are rebellious. We are, prodigal children.
And was this brought on the pulpit?
Some things were said indirectly. I was sent messages that, it was said that, they should not be involved with me in terms of worship, maybe the musicians, because we see we were
isolate,
a family.
ostracize this person completely.
And so maybe 1 or 2 people were left in my life. You can imagine being in a ministry from when you're 20 years, and you're leaving when you're 34, turning 35, and you're left alone. And when I say alone, like literally, you want to tell me we were not friends?
There were no relationships.
We were just doing church. Yeah. Like this was because
and you were leading choirs. And there are many people in choirs.
What are you talking about? People used to think I'm a pastor. I had not been ordained as a pastor there. People used to think I was a pastor. And so for me to leave, and now nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to say anything to you because so-and-so has said you cannot be associated. It was the most heart-wrenching experience of my life that I would never wish for anyone else.
I will take a pause over there. Pastors also cry. They do. We do. I am one of them. And we're taking a break now. When we come back, we want to explore how do pastors deal. Don't turn off the dial. Stay here.
This Sunday on Vision 2020.
Do you think that God has favorites? At the time I was very broke.
Yes.
So of course I said absolutely he does, and I'm not one of them.
That in Christ Jesus we are blessed with every spiritual blessing. You have been chosen. Because those who are chosen are called.
Right.
What is it to be called? It is to hear the sound of God calling you. The question moves from whether God has favorites or not.
True.
Am I his favorite?
Right.
That's this Sunday at 8 p.m.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. Today we are talking about a very, very interesting topic. Pastors also cry. And we're hearing some stories that you probably won't hear anywhere because we're trying to demystify the world of pastors. How does it work? What happens when you get into shipwreck? Nina at the break, you are telling us your experience you would not wish on your worst of enemies.
Yes.
Tell us why.
Because I feel that as leaders, we should be able to create an environment where if you have spiritual sons or spiritual daughters, you encourage people to have relationships both in the church and even when people have left church. I think for me, why I don't wish that even for my worst enemy is because of the loneliness, the years you've invested, not just in ministry, but in relationships.
Yes.
These are people who are in your
What do you
wedding
do?
lineup.
What did you do, for instance, to survive that? What do you do?
The more superficial a relationship is, the greater the pain
Exactly.
when that is severed. And
Yes.
I know we in mainstream churches would be transferred, maybe moved from one congregation to another. You've probably been in a congregation for like 3 or so years. You have formed relations. Your children are growing with other children.
Even 8 years.
8 years on, and then you are moved within a week, and you have to sever relations. Because there's someone else who's coming into leadership, and you are not expected to even think about Thomas Parish or anyone else there. And if that happens, then I strain my relations. Yet I have been walking and journeying with people. And whenever you are in proximity of people, there are relationships built. And so if we make our relationship so superficial, the greater the pain, and actually causes pastors to really cry. I'm listening to your story and I'm thinking, wow.
Yeah, especially the emotional connection.
Yes.
And for me, one of my love languages, and my husband has noticed, my love language is care. I love that I can have a relationship. There are people I have told right uprightly on their faces, listen, I'm not your friend now because we are passees.
Yes.
I want a friend. Like I can tell you anything. Why? Because I've learned my lessons. I also sowed a seed in that environment. I contributed to that
Yes,
while I was
true.
in that system.
Very true.
And I hate it. I want, even when I left Nairobi Chapel, I say to them, I said later on, if there's one thing you must do and do right, is always follow up people who have left, because you don't know what they've gone through.
It's a lonely time.
Oh yeah, because you don't want to feel like you are just kumbe, because my feeling was not even in my grief when I lost my baby. I was like, you mean people actually just liked me because of my gift? I mean, do you know how painful that is?
Yes, it is painful. It is a big.
I want us now to begin to bring solutions. To a pastor there who is listening, no one has ever called him since he left his previous station. He's just hearing stories. People are calling him and telling him, you did this. Now we know why you left. You left because you stole money, blah, 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 blah. How do pastors equip themselves for seasons that are dark?
Yeah, I think one of the things, I think, picking up from what Nina is bringing out by seeking a follow-up is really for us being in the leadership as pastors, being very deliberate in creating not just superficial relationships, but deep relationships where we are open with one another, vulnerable with each other, knowing that I have weaknesses, and knowing that, Nina, you can be able to call me out as a pastor, even across the board, not just within your denomination. So for me, one of the things that I've found very helpful is the people I went to school with, the ones that we did seminary with. Those would remain to be accountable friends and people who I would be able to call, even across the board. They may not understand my situation, but I have an opportunity to be able to talk and catechize and tell them, oh, by the way, you will never understand the Anglican lingua or the jargon that we use. But this one has done this to me, and I feel so beat. I feel as if I'm giving up.
So safe relationships.
Safe relationships.
People who are not in competition with you.
Yes, not in competition
are not
with
trying
you.
to get ahead of you.
Yeah, but will definitely probably make time to pray with you, and not just pray with you, pat you on the back. Also rebuke you,
even do
because
coffee with you.
do coffee with you, because sometimes maybe I'm in the wrong, and I need that rebuke, and maybe the place where I am, the only rebuke that comes in is a transfer or a change of station or a sack, so I would want people who are real with me, and people who would tell me and call me out that this is not an acceptable standard for a pastor. Because at the end of the day, we are really on a spotlight.
It's true.
A lot is expected of us.
Nina, you started talking about the soul some time back in this show, about how David dealt. How does a pastor deal with a wounded soul?
I think number one is just, your soul has your mind, right? Your will and your emotions. That's where we feel, that's where we think, and that's where we do, we act, we respond to what is processing in our minds. The best way for any minister, I think, to deal with the wounded soul is to accept, first of all. Accept and go through the process of I have been hurt. Don't spiritualize it. Don't, in fact, don't even surround yourself with people who are telling you, who are trying to pamper that. No. Feel it. Because if you don't, at some point, you will feel it. And you will express yourself. That's number one. Number two, once you have accepted, it's very easy for you, in fact, even to go back to yourself and find out, why did I respond? Why did I feel that deeply? Most of the time, you find that our childhood experiences...
It is wired to that pain.
Definitely. It takes you back to a place. And so if you have some unresolved thing, it's good to even just get a counselor, professional counselor.
Okay, but with what money? Anyway, I'll not compound it.
There are some churches. There are some churches that are actually offering.
I'm just being convoluted now. Just continue.
With your own money, with the little resources that you have.
So I know therapy is expensive, but there are people who are actually offering. I think like CITAM, they offer free counseling sessions.
So find where you can either afford or where there's a free service.
Yes. Just talk. Talk. Sometimes you don't need prayer at that moment. You just need to talk. Then, as time goes by, you get to a place, which is what happened to me. You get to a place where your spirit, your soul begins to connect with what is in your spirit. And it's very easy for God now to talk to you that way.
I want to go to a place. I want to take us to a place. There are some of our colleagues who have not fared well. They have stressed and agonized and ended up in depression. Some have ended up with cancer. Others have ended up dead. Let's speak to that. What usually is the wrong turn in this situation? Where is the wrong turn? So that people know, don't take this exit.
I think one of the things that I believe is a wrong turn is where we are overtly dependent on ourselves to get ourselves, as if we are the ones who got ourselves in that situation in the first place, and to get ourselves out of the mud and out of this that circumstance without necessarily seeking help externally, whether it's from people or from God himself. And I think because this is Crosstalk, I think we cannot fail to think about the cross. The cross is not a beautiful place. I think we tend to beautify it. We tend to beautify it, and make it look so lavish. Oh, come to the cross and all that. Yes, but then it's a messy place. It's bloody. Sorry for the language, but it's true. It's bloody.
It's full of blood,
and it's messy
and teary,
and teary, and it's a place of brokenness. And we need to be able to say, Crosstalk, we go to the cross. Let's have some conversations about the cross. And bring it the reality of the fact that I am in pain to the cross of Christ. Whether I will be able to do that myself or someone else, Nina, I expect you to be able to drag me to the cross. Because think about Paul in 2 Corinthians 4. Paul does say this. I'm hard pressed on every side. I'm crushed on every side, persecuted. But one thing, I will not lose heart. We have this ministry, and yet we do not lose heart. And I tend to think that Paul kept on going back to the cross in saying, this is the same person who has called me and given me a ministry in this jar of clay, as weak as it is, as frail as it is well able to fill the frail jar so that I can be able to continue proclaiming the good news. And I think we need to be able to say, yes, go back to the cross.
Nina, wrong turns as you wind us up. What are the wrong turns
to
avoid?
Some of the wrong turns is, for instance, like if you get into depression or you're going through this process.
What is the turn that takes you to depression?
When you overindulge in things that do not, say for instance, you become now an alcoholic, or you find ways of coping instead of facing the situation as it is. If you don't deal with this matter, what happens is that it takes over you.
Is there a place where you have closure issues? Like for you, your man of God did not acknowledge or take responsibility. Is it possible to get stuck?
If you choose to.
So it's a choice?
Yeah, it's a choice.
Okay.
Because then you've done your part. I've done my responsibility. I served the Lord.
How do I let go of that? How do I let go of the fact that I have been accused, I have gone and I've said sorry, nobody is willing to listen to me or even pay attention to my side of the story, and I've just left there to hang? How am I supposed to let go of that and move on?
Me, I think every believer, number one, your biggest concern should be, what does God say about you? Not what man says about you. I always tell people, if there's one person I fear in this world, it's God.
Okay.
So even if you ask me a question, I'll be like, my friend, I fear God. And that is the most important thing. Why? Because I have learned my lessons and understood that men are also made out of earth. Right? And so we will fail, and also just saying just to wind up what he said about suffering, bloodiness and all that, we need to preach and teach about suffering. It should be part and parcel of the gospel, that people should be aware so that you're not shocked when life happens.
Yes.
If we as pastors can remove ourselves as the messiahs and begin to, hallelujah, and begin to allow people, not necessarily to share our things, but allow people to know that we are also human. I decided I will no longer speak about what people are not doing. I am now doing it. If I feel in my heart I need to call somebody, I pick my phone, even if you are an old friend where we ministered with Kitambo, I pick and I say, by the way, God has put something in my heart, are you okay? That's what I'm doing. Somebody needs help, I'm there. So my pastoral assignment is not for the pulpit. It's for doing life with people. Yes.
Pastor Nina Njoroge, One Tribe Church, thank you. Thank you for your time. Reverend Peter Nzimbi, ACK St. Francis Church.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time and your insights. Viewers, wow, pastors also cry. But there's a way that God hears our cry. And like it says in Psalm 34, verse 17, when the righteous cry out, the Lord hears them and delivers them from every evil. If you're here today and you're down in the dumps and you're a pastor and you're on your own, find people to talk to, find the cross every day. Weep before God. Take out your pain. You have questions that have no answers, let go of them. It will be well. We love you, and may God bless you. This has been Crosstalk, and we shall see you next week. God bless you.